I got 10 correct lane streak. 10 correct.
Okay. Why don't we put the lids down?
The grandmaster.
Thanks a lot.
This thing.
There's two objectives I want to give you guys, two target goals. So when you leave this classroom, I want you to be able to do these two things I'm about to tell you. So one, and I think some of you are able to do this right now. One, I want you to be able to describe, and two, I want you to be able to explain. So you're going to explain the effects of acid rain. Raise your hand if you know what acid rain is or you've heard that term, right? We just heard that. And acid rain is a result of man's sin. The reason why we have acid rain is because why? Just go ahead and say it. Yeah, because we've sinned. We've brought acid rain into this world. We've messed up the things that God has created. We have another marker, or is this it?
I had one. You can use.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm going to use three colors to make sure it's nice and pretty, like my hair. Actually, we'll say, I think it's better to say, describe the, like that color? Yes, no, nice and bright.
Yeah.
And what's the word up here? Explain. And with this one, we'll get the brown out here. We're going to explain the water. Any guesses? Any guesses? Just go ahead and say it. That's a good guess. That's not what I was looking for.
Sinful.
Think of a bicycle. Thank you very much. Explain the water cycle. And something I want you to remember, that it was designed by God. So one more time, when you walk out of this classroom, there's two main things I want you to be able to do. One, I want you to be able to what? I want you to be able to describe the effects of acid rain. And the reason why we have acid rain is a result of man's what? Sin. We messed up. We brought this junk into our world. And two, I want you to be able to do what? Explain. You're going to explain the water cycle, all right? Which was designed by who? God. So the first thing I want to talk about is Genesis 1:1. Does anyone know Genesis 1:1?
No.
That's John 3:16.
That's John 3:16.
God created the heaven and earth.
Good job. That's what I'm talking about. Boom. All right. God created the heavens and the earth. Okay. So on day one, He created light and what? Darkness. Now day two, raise your hand. Day two, what did He create? This is the creation account. What did He create? So on day one, He created light and darkness. Day two, He created the sky and the water. This is great review here. All right, one more time. Day one, creation account. What did He create? Say it. Light and darkness. And I really like how we are taking some risks. Maybe we don't know the answers always, but you're going for it. I wanted to hear that participation from you. So day two, what was it again, class? Sky and water. So one more time, our objective today is that you are able to explain this water cycle. And God created the water on what day? Day two. Now, day 3, raise your hand. Who can tell me what he created?
A vault.
Excuse me?
A vault.
But day 3 we're on. Just some general terms. Simple stuff. Not yet. Not yet. I like that you're going for it. I'm so glad we're talking about this, Jacob.
Oh no, wait, that's day 4. Wrong day.
And go ahead and say your name for me.
Dylan.
Dylan, yes?
Wasn't it the sun, moon, and stars?
That's day 4. I won't tell Mrs. Kearney on you guys, okay? Isn't that your Bible teacher?
No, it's just
Oh,
not.
Mr. Wilhite, I knew that. You guys.
That's
are-
last year.
Got it. Okay. Yeah.
Last year was
Is there Adam all things that fly?
Okay.
Wait.
Not yet. We haven't gotten to that.
Yeah, that's. What did they land on? If land hasn't been
Olivia?
created yet, they would be like, oh, I'm so tired.
Created land and vegetation. I'm going to try to help you remember this, okay? So again, we got light and darkness, and that coincides with day 4 here. Sun, moon, stars. The sun is a star 93 million miles away. You guys like my artwork here?
Yeah, so pretty.
Thank
You're
you.
so pretty.
Day 5,
You're not arguing.
day 5, these are the birds.
Oh, beautiful.
Aww. Hey there, little guy.
And the animals of the...
See.
Now watch this, please. The marine animals. That coincides with day 2. Does that make sense? Birds, sky. Animals of the sea, water. So day 3 here, use your brain here. You guys are smart. Land and vegetation. Raise your hand and tell me, what did God create on day 6 here?
Humans and beasts that roam the ground.
Good job.
Land animals.
Man, woman, land animals. So do you see how that fits with what day? Day 3. You've got to got in order, okay?
It does stuff in cycles.
So, explain the water cycle. All right, so one more time. What day did God create water? Day 2. Now your textbook says that the earth is billions and billions of years old. And we have some Christians that believe that. All right, I'm not one of those Christians. I believe in a literal interpretation of the Bible, of the creation account, of Genesis. So I actually believe these are 24-hour days. All right, and there are a lot of other people that believe that the earth is what? Millions and millions. They believe that. Okay? So, but again, I go with this literal interpretation. Now, we can actually read about the water cycle in the Bible. So, as I was preparing this lesson, I was looking up some verses, and when you go to Ecclesiastes, which is in the Old Testament, and you read about, and you go to the book of Psalms, also in the Old Testament, you can read about water vapor. You can read about rain, which is a form of, raise your hand, starts with a P. Say your name, please. Noah.
Precipitation.
Good job. Precipitation. So let's go over this water cycle because I want you to be able to explain this water cycle. And so we just said that precipitation can come, one aspect of precipitation, one kind of precipitation is rain. Can someone give me another type of precipitation?
Snow.
Good job. Snow. Raise your hand and give me another form of precipitation. Sleet. And the book, I noticed, didn't talk about sleet. So sleet is kind of that icy type of, it's not snow, it's it's not rain. It's kind of that in-between stuff. What about those ice cubes that fall from the sky? Hail. And Jacob, I know you wanted to answer that, and I really appreciate that you didn't just blurt out the answer. Thank you for being patient like that. All right. And if you get really technical, we could go into things like sleet and drizzle. All right. So this here is what? Precipitation. This here is what? Precipitation. So God created the sky. He created the clouds. And from those clouds, eyes up here, what comes down?
Rain.
Which is all forms of precipitation. All right? And it goes into the rivers and into the seas, into the water that He's created. And the sun, does anyone remember how far away it is, I said? Jacob?
79 billion, something like that.
Something like that. 93 million. Okay, you're just a few billion off. But that's okay. So the precipitation comes down, and the sun makes that water disappear. Raise your hand, and what's that special word?
Alec and evaporation.
Yeah, evaporation. So one more time, if you read in the Bible, you can read about water vapor. Now follow me here. Have you ever heard of the word, something like, I vaporized you?
Yeah.
You know? So, now this is absolutely incredible. We think this is just normal, not a big deal. But you have liquid water here. I take this liquid water and I pour it on this table. And that liquid water will not be there tomorrow. Okay? What has happened? It evaporated. Now we think that's normal. That is amazing. That's something that God has done. So that water, even though it's disappeared from our eyes, is actually still here on earth. It is turned, that liquid water has turned into what?
Water vapor.
Good job. Water vapor. Water in the form of a gas. So let's go over this again. Rain, snow, sleet, hail, mist, drizzle. It falls down into the creeks, the rivers, the lakes. And then the sun, the heat, the warmth there makes it what? Evaporate. It's going to go into the clouds. And that water, that vapor, the water in the form of a gas, will turn back into what? Liquid water. Liquid water. So on a hot summer day, you have some Coke here, and you have some ice cubes in it, right? Have you ever seen a bunch of water around it or water here? What's that word?
Darren, my name is Con. Oh, no.
Your name's condensation.
Hi, my name's condensation.
It's called Darren. Condensation, my name is Darren.
So in the water
My name's
cycle,
condensation. It's called air.
eyes up here. In the water cycle, that water vapor, the water in the form of a what?
Rain cloud.
Gas turns back into a
Liquid.
liquid water. We have these clouds here that form, and then it'll come back down here in what? As form of precipitation. Now, please listen to me here. Please listen to me here. All right? That is part of God's amazing, amazing design. Now, when I lived in China, I met many people, they didn't believe in Jesus Christ. They didn't believe in a creator. Okay? And one of the arguments I would give, one of the ways I would try to show them that we have this creator is I would give them this teleological approach. And I would say, hey, we always have enough water on this earth. Look at the water, what? Cycle. Sure, we have droughts. Sure, we have areas where there's not enough what? Water. And that's a result of man's what? Sin. We've messed up this beautiful earth that God's created. So, but there's always enough water, and it's cycling. Water vapor is water in the form of a what? Gas. Okay? And it'll turn into liquid water. That is the process of what?
Precipitation.
Well, it comes down as precipitation, rain, snow, condensation. Comes down as rain, snow, sleet, hail, mist, drizzle. What's that? Precipitation. The sun will zap it dry, and it forms into a gas again. So it has what? It has evaporated. It's evaporation. I would tell Chinese people, hey, that weren't believers, this is all part of God's cycle. All right, God's plan. So another thing, how the earth spins on its what? Axis every what? 24 hours. That's not an accident. That's God's design. The earth revolves around the what? Sun. That's part of God's design. That's a teleological view there. So this, what we're describing here, is the water what? Water cycle. Another one is like the food chain. You have a worm. The worm's eaten by a bird. The bird's eaten by a cat. The cat's eaten by a man. And the man, in some cultures, the man dies, buried in the ground. That's right, Jacob. The worm eats him. So, that's the food chain.
So,
Yeah, we become worm food. Now,
Unfortunately.
so we said precipitation, rain, snow, sleet, hail, mist, drizzle here, unfortunately can also be acid rain. Now, acid rain is when we burn fossil fuels, and I don't want anyone to walk out of this classroom thinking fossil fuels are evil. Fossil fuels aren't evil. What's evil? Yeah, we are. We are the ones that mess up the thing. So we burn fossil fuels, we have these factories, and it mixes in with the rain, and then it forms what? Acid rain. So that acid rain, who can tell me some of the things that it does to this beautiful earth that God's created? Olivia. It strips the trees and plants, like in Poland and in Scandinavia, in Europe. You can clearly see from the forest that acid rain has affected it. Berkeley. Yeah, we're unable to drink certain kinds of water because of the acid rain. Anything else that you can think that acid rain does?
It poisons fish.
Yeah, it hurts animals. All right, of the oceans. All right, it peels paint. It makes steel deteriorate. Rust occurs. So acid rain. Yeah, well, is I don't know if you're going to be standing in rain and you're like, but it does hurt. So. But I want you guys to understand this. This is a result of man's sin. So Adam and Eve, the fall, Genesis 3, they sinned, they disobeyed God, and as a result, we're born with what?
Sin.
Yeah, a sin nature. We're not good, and that's why we need who? Yeah, Jesus. Jesus is who helps us to do good. And He helps us to see that we're to take care of this earth that He's created. Jacob. Yeah, I mean, we get His Spirit.
Okay.
All right, let me assess you guys before I let you go really quick. Raise your hand and give me one part of the water cycle. Give me one part.
Precipitation.
Okay, precipitation. One more time. If you look up here, these are the main forms of precipitation. You could also say mist and drizzle, and it comes down. So we're talking about the water cycle, Eva. Condensation. So the water vapor, the water in the form of a what? Gas turns into liquid water, and clouds are formed. And give me that third part. Raise your hand if you know this. Give me that. We talked about precipitation. We talked about condensation. Give me that. Raise your hand if you know this. What's the third part of the water cycle? Good job. Evaporation. And that's when liquid water is evaporated. It's changed into a water molecule, a water in the form of gas. Now, one more thing I want to talk about. We have this objective, describe the effects of acid rain. I will let you go when I get 3 things that acid rain does to this earth. All right? Give me one.
Pollutes water.
Yeah, it pollutes water, it harms the animals. Emma?
Oh, that, I was gonna say hurts animals. But
Okay, can you think of another one? I think you can. I talked about Poland, I talked about Scandinavia. It does something to what?
Like places and like I don't know.
I like being out here when I'm fishing.
Come on, please. Let me alone.
Help her out. What's that?
People, hurt people.
It's not going to melt.
Yes, sir. It strips trees.
Yeah, it strips the leaves from the trees. And one more. Come on, Shay.
It burns up.
Sit down.
It burns up.
Yeah, peels paint, tears up infrastructure buildings. Adios. Good job, guys.
Okay.